Hi folks, I am solving Leetcode's top 150 questions and that's all you need for your coding interviews. So in this video, we'll be solving 213 House Robber 2. So if you have not watched or solved House Robber 1, I will really recommend you to do that because House Robber 2 is an extension of House Robber 1. The TLDR version of this question is we are given this integer array called nums and it represents the amount of money that each house has, and we have to return the maximum amount of money that we can rob without alerting the police. And how the police is alerted? If you rob the adjacent house. And the crux of this problem is it says that our houses are in cyclic order. So what that means is this is our house number 1, this is house 2, and this is 3. So all of these are in cyclic nature, so these two are adjacent. So let's try to understand on how we can solve this. If you remember House Robber 1, we built like a decision tree where we took adjacent elements. So this is what we were returning as 4 because this is the maximum out of both of them. But in House Robber 2, if we choose to use this 2, then we can't choose this 2 or vice versa. We only have the option to use this 2 here or this 3 here. Let's take this example now. So if you see, we can't use both of the ones. The way we solved our House Robber 1, up until this point, we only had 2 or 3. But as soon as we come to our third element, we have the option to choose these two or only choose this one. So here we had 4 or 3 and we were returning the max out of this 4. So in House Robber 2, we can utilize our same helper function to avoid this cyclic use case. We can take either max of these two value, which is including our first element or excluding our first element. We will call this helper function twice, and since we'll be only iterating our nums one time, the time complexity would be linear. So now let's look at the code on how we can solve this. Let's start by defining our helper function, and here we will take input as nums. Let's call it houses. And here we will need two variables. Let's call it rob1 and rob2. And now let's iterate over our houses. Now we need our temp variable, and here we need the maximum of rob1 plus house, because we can't rob house 1 and house 2 because it's adjacent, or rob2. Now our rob1 will be rob2 and our rob2 will be our temp, and then we will return our rob2. This completes our helper function. Now let's call this helper function recursively, first by ignoring our last element and then second time with ignoring the first element, and we will take the maximum of both. This is when we ignore the first element and we'll start from 0 and ignore the last one. And apart from it, there is one more case if our nums only had one element. Yeah, like we will return the maximum from any of these. Let me submit this. Yep, it works. I hope you found this helpful. If yes, you can consider subscribing to this channel. And thank you so much for watching.